2 weeks later, Captain Deho stood before the Galactic Council in the Great Chamber of Nexus Prime Station. But he was no longer entirely the same person who had left on a routine patrol mission. The integration process had changed him in ways both subtle and profound. The council members sat in their traditional circle, representatives from 47 species watching him with suspicion and curiosity. Admiral Yejin stood at the center, her green scales darker than usual, a sign of stress among her people. "Captain Deho," Admiral Yejin began, "you have been missing for 18 days. Your report claims you entered human space to rescue a Calarian vessel." "That is correct, Admiral." "And you encountered humans?" "Yes, ma'am." The chamber erupted in nervous chatter. Council member Raktul from the insectoid Thrixian collective clicked his mandibles rapidly. "Impossible. Humans have been silent for 3 centuries. Deho could feel the fear in the room, but he could also sense something else, something his enhanced awareness allowed him to perceive. The biotech sensors that Dr. So Young had mentioned were here, microscopic devices placed throughout galactic space. Humanity had been watching this meeting before it began. "Council members," Deho said, raising his voice to quiet the room. "I am here as humanity's first official ambassador in 300 years. The silence that followed was deafening. "You're lying," Council member Zeth Ara of the Crystalline Collective sang in her harmonic voice. "Humans requested permanent isolation. They did, and they maintained it. But circumstances have changed." Admiral Yejin moved closer to him. "Captain, you seem different." Deho nodded. "I am different, Admiral. I've undergone what humans call partial integration. I volunteered to become a bridge between our species." Before anyone could respond, the air in the center of the chamber began to shimmer. The council members jumped to their feet, weapons powering up, shields activating. But Deho remained calm. Director Jinnah materialized in the chamber, not as a hologram but as a quantum projection that existed in multiple dimensional layers simultaneously. Her presence made the air itself feel heavier. "Honored council members," Jinnah said, her voice carrying impossible harmonics. "I am Director Jinnah of the Human High Council. I come to fulfill a promise made 3 centuries ago." Raktul's weapons targeted her immediately. "How did you penetrate our security?" "Your security systems are based on detecting matter and energy. I am currently existing as organized information patterns in local space-time. Your sensors cannot detect what I am because you lack the conceptual framework to understand it." "Admiral," Yejin stepped forward, her old courage overriding her fear. "What do you want?" "To end our isolation, but safely, and with your consent." Boram entered the chamber next, but she didn't walk through the doors. She simply appeared as if she had always been there. Her blue skin now had patterns of light flowing beneath the surface, evidence of her biotech integration. "Council members," Boram said. "I am Engineer Boram of the Vraxian Fleet. I have undergone full integration with human biotechnology. I'm here to help you understand what humanity has become." "Boram?" Admiral Yejin whispered. "What have they done? To you?" "They've shown me what we could become," Boram replied. "Not just my species, but all of us. Humanity didn't evolve in isolation by accident. They evolved in preparation." Jinnah activated a display that appeared in the air above the council chamber. It showed the galaxy, but not as a map of stars and planets. It showed flows of information, patterns of energy, the deep structure of reality itself. 300 years ago, humanity accessed the quantum foundation of existence, Jinnah explained. "We learned to read and modify the code that reality runs on, but we also discovered something else." The display zoomed in on areas of distortion in space. "The universe is not stable. These distortions are growing. In approximately 200 years, local spacetime will begin to collapse." Council member Vorthan of the Gas Giant Collective floated higher in alarm. "You're talking about the heat death of the universe." "Not heat death. Reality death," The quantum foundations that hold matter and energy together are developing critical flaws. Daeho felt the horror rippling through the chamber. Director Jin, are you saying the universe is ending? This section of it, yes. Unless the flaws are repaired, and humans can repair them? Integrated humans working together can stabilize local spacetime, but it requires a level of coordination and power that our current numbers cannot achieve. Boram stepped forward. That's why they've been watching the galaxy, not to invade or conquer, but to prepare other species for integration. You want to change all of us, Admiral Yejin said. We want to save all of us, Jinna replied. Integration is not forced transformation. It's an offered evolution. Species can choose to remain as they are, but they must understand the consequences. The display changed, showing projections of galactic civilization in 50 years, 100 years, 200 years. Without intervention, the images showed increasing quantum instability leading to the collapse of inhabited star systems. How long do we have? Asked Council Member Thylax of the Silicon-based Confederacy. To decide? 50 years? To begin large-scale integration? 100 years? To complete the process? 150 years. And if we refuse? Jinna's expression became infinitely sad. Then humanity ascends to pure energy existence and does what we can to stabilize reality from a higher dimensional plane. But without sufficient integrated consciousness anchored in this dimension, we estimate a 60% chance of failure. You're asking us to trust you with the transformation of every species in the galaxy, Admiral Yejin said. I'm asking you to trust your own people who have chosen integration, Jinna replied. Captain Daeho and Engineer Boram are still themselves. Integration enhances consciousness. It doesn't replace it. Daeho addressed the council directly. I have retained my loyalty to my species and to the principles of the Galactic Council, but I have also gained the ability to perceive reality at levels we never imagined possible. I can help other species understand what integration offers. What guarantees do we have? Asked Raktul. Boram answered. Integration cannot be forced. It requires willing participation at the deepest level of consciousness. No species can be transformed against their will. Additionally, Jinna added, any species that chooses integration retains the right to establish their own regions of space and their own governance. Humanity will not rule a galactic empire. We will simply provide the tools for cosmic citizenship. Admiral Yejin looked around the chamber at her fellow council members. Fear and uncertainty showed on every face. Director Jinna, what happens to species that choose not to integrate? They continue as they are, in specially stabilized regions of space that integrated beings will maintain. But they will be limited to those regions as the rest of the galaxy becomes uninhabitable for non-integrated consciousness, like reservations, like protected preserves for normal biological existence. We understand that not every species will choose evolution. The chamber fell silent except for the sound of various beings breathing in their different ways. How do we begin? Admiral Yejin asked finally. Slowly, Daeho said. I propose establishing a single contact facility at the edge of human space. Volunteers from interested species can learn about integration. No pressure, no requirements, just information and choice. I will oversee the facility, Boram added. As someone who has undergone the process, I can help others understand what they're choosing. Jinna nodded. This is acceptable to the Human High Council. We propose a trial period of 10 years. After that, the galaxy can vote on whether to continue contact or return to isolation, while we seek other solutions to the quantum stability problem. Admiral Yejin looked at her colleagues. All in favor of establishing limited contact with humanity? The vote was close, but it passed. 3 months later, the first Galactic Council ship in 3 centuries approached the edge of human space. Captain Taewoo's vessel met them at the border, sleek and impossible as ever, but this time, instead of turning them away, he welcomed them to the newly constructed contact station. Welcome to Threshold Station, Taewoo said as the Council ship docked. We hope this is the beginning of a new era for all of us. Daeho watched the first volunteers from a dozen species step through the airlock. Scientists, philosophers and adventurers who wanted to understand what humanity had become. Some would choose integration, others would return home with knowledge. All would help their species prepare for the choice that would define the next chapter of galactic civilization. Through his enhanced awareness, Daeho could feel the vast web of human consciousness watching this moment. 12 billion evolved humans hoping that this fragile first step toward contact would lead to something greater than any single species could achieve alone. The age of isolation was ending. The age of cosmic citizenship was about to begin. In Seoul, the deep structure of spacetime itself, the quantum flaws continued to grow. But for the first time in 300 years, humanity was no longer facing the crisis alone. Captain Daeho sat in his quarters aboard Haven Station, staring out at stars that seemed to pulse with their own thoughts. 3 days had passed since meeting Director Jinnah, and the weight of their choice pressed down on him like the gravity of a collapsing star. A soft chime announced a visitor. Captain Tae-woo entered carrying what looked like a glowing plant in a crystal container. "I brought you something from Earth," Tae-woo said, setting the container on the table. "It's a memory flower, bioengineered to store and share experiences." Daeho watched the plant's petals shift through colors he didn't have names for. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because I want you to understand what you're choosing between." Tae-woo touched the crystal and the flower pulsed brighter. "This plant contains the memories of the first human to undergo integration. Would you like to experience what it felt like?" "Is it safe?" "Safer than the alternatives we're discussing." Daeho placed his hand on the crystal. Immediately his mind filled with sensations that weren't his own. He felt the moment when biotechnology first merged with human consciousness. The overwhelming rush of connection to every machine, every network, every living thing enhanced with biotech. But also, the terror, the realization that thoughts had become powerful enough to reshape reality, the loneliness of becoming something that no other living being could understand. When the experience ended, Daeho was crying. "Now you know," Tae-woo said gently. "Integration isn't just gaining abilities, it's losing the simple existence you've always known." Down the corridor, Boram was having her own conversation with Dr. So Young in the biotech laboratory. The engineer couldn't stop touching the living machines, fascinated by technology that grew and learned. "Your scanner readings were correct," So Young explained. "Every device here is alive. They think, feel, and dream in their own way." Boram interfaced with one of the computers, letting it read her thoughts about engineering principles from her home world. In return, the machine shared its understanding of growth-based construction. "This is incredible," Boram breathed. "Your computers are creating new solutions by growing them instead of calculating them." "Biotechnology doesn't just solve problems," So Young said. "It evolves solutions. Each machine learns from experience and passes that knowledge to other machines. I want to understand more." So Young looked sad. "Understanding more means changing more. Are you prepared for that?" Meanwhile, Hyunwoo was with Commander Soo-jin in the station's tactical center. Unlike the flowing biotech elsewhere, this room felt more familiar. Displays showed star charts and fleet positions. "You're military," Soo-jin said. "You understand duty and sacrifice." "Yes, ma'am." "Then you understand why we chose isolation. We could have used our abilities to conquer the galaxy. Instead, we sacrificed our connection to other species to keep them safe." Hyunwoo studied the displays. "How many humans are there now?" 12 billion, spread across 47 worlds. Every one of them capable of rewriting reality at the quantum level. That's an army of gods. An army that has chosen not to fight. But isolation becomes harder with each generation. Our young people don't remember the galaxy. They only know stories. What do they want? To explore, to meet other species, to use their abilities for something greater than hiding. Soo-jin activated a new display showing young humans practicing their abilities. Children who could fly by adjusting local gravity. Teenagers who created art by reshaping matter with their thoughts. "We can't hide forever," Soo-jin said. "Eventually, Our children will demand contact with the galaxy. When that happens, we need bridges between our species and yours. That evening, the three visitors met in Daeho's quarters to discuss their choice. I can't stop thinking about what I experienced, Daeho said. The loneliness of becoming something beyond normal existence. But the possibilities, Boram added excitedly. Their technology could solve every problem our species faces. Disease, war, resource scarcity, all of it could be ended. At the cost of becoming something else, Hyunwoo pointed out. Are we still ourselves if we can reshape reality with our thoughts? Maybe that's the wrong question, Daeho said. Maybe we should ask, what do we owe the galaxy? Boram looked confused. What do you mean? The humans are evolving whether we help them or not. In a few generations, they'll be beyond physical existence. If we don't help them maintain connection to normal species, what happens when they forget how to care about us? Dr. So-young entered the room, accompanied by a young human named Min-ho. He looked barely adult, but his eyes held depths that spoke of integrated consciousness. Min-ho is one of our biotechnicians, So-young said. He wanted to meet you before you decide. Min-ho bowed politely. I was born after integration. I've never met anyone who wasn't biotech enhanced. What's that like? Boram asked. Lonely. I can communicate with every human across space instantaneously. I can interface with any biotech device. But I've never had a conversation with someone who experiences reality the way you do. Min-ho sat down carefully as if afraid his presence might harm them. Dr. So-young showed me recordings of your species' art, music, and literature. You create beauty through limitation. We create through unlimited possibility. I want to understand the difference. You could just read our minds, Hyunwoo said suspiciously. We could, but we don't. That would be like reading a book instead of having a conversation. The sharing has to be voluntary to be meaningful. Over the next hour, Min-ho asked countless questions about normal existence. What was it like to be unable to interface with machines? How did they solve problems without access to the deep code? Did they ever feel trapped in their physical bodies? Your questions make me realize something, Daeho said finally. You're still curious, still capable of wonder. Integration didn't make you inhuman. Not yet, Min-ho admitted. But each generation becomes more integrated. My children might not be curious about limited existence. They might see normal biology as primitive. Is that why you need ambassadors? We need friends, Min-ho said simply. People who can remind us what it means to be small and fragile and mortal. Because those are beautiful things too. The next morning, Boram made her choice first. I want to undergo integration, she announced to the assembled humans. Not just for myself, but for my species. Someone needs to understand what you've achieved. Dr. So-young led her to the integration chamber, a room that pulsed with biotech energy. Are you certain? There's no going back. I'm certain. The process was unlike anything in galactic medicine. Biotech organisms, smaller than cells, merged with Boram's neural system. She felt her consciousness expand, touching networks that spanned human space. But she also felt herself changing. Her thoughts became faster, clearer, but also different. She could sense the quantum patterns underlying reality. With effort, she could influence them. How do you feel? So-young asked. Like I'm becoming someone else, Boram said. But also like I'm becoming who I was always meant to be. Hyunwoo chose differently. I want my memories altered. I can't handle becoming something beyond my species. Taewoo performed the memory modification with gentle precision. Hyunwoo would remember rescuing the Kalarians and meeting friendly, but reclusive humans. Nothing about biotechnology or cosmic abilities. Will I still be me? Hyunwoo asked before the process began. You'll be exactly who you are now, just with different memories of the last few days. Daeho made the hardest choice of all. I want to become an ambassador. But not just to represent humans to the galaxy. I want to represent the galaxy to humans. That will require partial integration, Jinna warned. You'll gain some abilities, but you'll also never quite fit in either world completely. I understand. The ambassador integration was more complex. Deho gained enhanced consciousness and limited biotech interface abilities, but retained his original species perspective. He could touch the deep code, but not rewrite it completely. When the process was complete, Deho felt the change immediately. He could sense the vast network of human consciousness, but he could also feel his own species' simple, beautiful mortality. Now comes the real choice, Director Jinnah said to him. Do we end 300 years of isolation? 2 days later, Captain Deho found himself standing in a room that couldn't exist. The walls curved impossibly upward, forming a dome that seemed larger inside than outside. Stars shone through the transparent ceiling, but they moved in patterns. That made no sense. Welcome to the High Council chamber, Dr. So-Young said beside him. Try not to think too hard about the geometry. It makes most people dizzy. Boram was holding her scanner, but she had given up trying to understand the readings. Dr. So-Young, this room shows up as being in 17 different locations at the same time. That's because it is. The chamber exists in multiple dimensional layers. It's how we can meet with council members who are scattered across human space. Hyunwoo looked nervous. Are we going to meet your leaders? One of them. Director Jinnah speaks for the High Council in matters involving other species. The air in the center of the room began to shimmer. A figure appeared, but not like a hologram. This person seemed to step out of empty space itself. She looked human, but everything about her presence felt enormous. The very air seemed to bend around her. I am Director Jinnah, she said. Her voice was calm, but it carried weight that made Deho's bones vibrate. You are the first non-humans to enter our space in 300 years. Deho tried to bow, respectfully, but moving felt strange. The space around Jinnah seemed to flow like thick water. Director Jinnah, I am Captain Deho. We came to rescue a ship in distress. I know why you came. I also know what you've learned since arriving. Jinnah moved closer, and Deho felt pressure in his mind. Not painful, but overwhelming. You want to understand what humanity has become? Yes, ma'am. Jinnah smiled, and for a moment the pressure lifted. Dr. So-Young has explained our biotechnology. Integration. Captain Tae-woo has shown you our capabilities, but they haven't told you the full truth. What truth? We are no longer bound by the same laws of physics that govern your species. To demonstrate, Jinnah held out her hand. Above her palm, points of light appeared. The lights grew brighter and began to spin around each other. Deho realized he was watching the birth of a tiny solar system. This is not an illusion, Jinnah said. I am creating actual matter and energy through focused thought. The miniature stars spun faster, creating small planets around them. Atmospheres formed. Oceans appeared on the worlds. Then Jinnah closed her hand, and everything vanished. How? Boram whispered. 300 years ago, humanity accessed what we call the deep code, the fundamental programming language that controls reality itself. Jinnah began to walk around them, and space seemed to bend with her movement. At first, we thought biotechnology was just advanced engineering. We didn't realize we were learning to rewrite the universe at the quantum level. That's impossible, Hyunwoo said. Many things are impossible until someone does them. Jinnah stopped in front of him. Tell me, Officer Hyunwoo, what makes you real? What do you mean? Your body is made of atoms. Those atoms are mostly empty space held, together by forces you can't see. The forces follow rules written into the fabric of existence. What if someone could read those rules? Change them? The room around them began to shift. The walls flowed like liquid, changing color and texture. The floor became transparent, showing depths that went down forever. We didn't just integrate with biotechnology, Jinnah continued. We integrated with reality itself. Our thoughts can now influence matter, energy, space, and time. Deho felt sick. You're saying humans are like gods. We're saying humans are becoming something like gods, but we still have human emotions, human fears, human mistakes. Commander Sujin materialized beside Jinnah. She looked younger than the director, but her eyes held the same impossible depth. "Tell them about the accidents," Sujin said. Jinnah nodded sadly. "In the early years after integration, we had many accidents. A human having a nightmare accidentally opened holes in space. Another person's grief aged a nearby star by 1,000,000 years. Love between two people created new forms of matter that shouldn't exist. We learned to control our abilities," Sujin added. "But the potential for damage is always there. Every emotion we feel has the power to change reality around us." Boram was shaking. "This is why you isolated yourselves. You're not protecting the galaxy from invasion. You're protecting it from existing near you." "Exactly." Jinnah's expression was infinitely sad. "We realized that just being in the same space as other species could accidentally destroy them. A human's bad day could unmake entire solar systems. But you seem to have control now," Deho said. "Some control. But we're still evolving. Every generation of humans becomes more integrated with the deep code. Our children are born with abilities that amaze even us." Sujin activated a display that showed human space. Instead of star charts, it showed flows of energy and information connecting all the human worlds. "This is how we see the universe now," she explained. "Not as empty space with objects in it, but as a web of interconnected patterns that we can read and influence. In another few generations," Jinnah added, "humans may evolve beyond physical existence entirely. We might become beings of pure thought and energy." "Will you still be human then?" Deho asked. "That's the question that keeps us awake at night. We're becoming something wonderful and terrible. We have the power to create new universes or destroy existing ones. But we're still the same species that used to fight wars over resources and territory." The room changed again, showing images of current human society. Cities that grew like living organisms. People who could think to machines across vast distances. Children who played with toys made of pure energy. "We've tried to maintain our humanity while embracing our evolution," Sujin said. "We still love, hope, fear, and dream. But now those emotions have cosmic consequences." "Is this why you watch the galaxy?" Boram asked. "To make sure you don't accidentally affect other species?" "Partly. But also because we're lonely." Jinnah's voice became very quiet. "We isolated ourselves to protect everyone else, but isolation is painful for a social species like humans. We monitor galactic civilization because you remind us of what we used to be," Sujin added. "Your struggles, your hopes, your simple existence as normal biological beings helps us remember our own humanity." Deho understood now. "You need us to stay human." "Yes, but our very presence threatens your existence. It's an impossible situation." Jinnah moved to the center of the room. "Which brings us to why you're here. Your arrival presents us with a choice we've been avoiding for 300 years. "What choice?" "Whether to continue our isolation until we evolve beyond physical existence or to risk limited contact with the galaxy." Sujin joined her in the center. "If we maintain isolation, you three become the first non-humans to live permanently in human space. If we allow contact, we risk accidentally destroying the civilizations we've been protecting." "There's a third option," Jinnah said. "We could prepare the galaxy for what we're becoming, but that would require ambassadors who understand both sides." Deho felt the weight of their decision settling on him. "You want us to choose?" "No. We want you to help us choose. Your species and all the others in the galaxy will be affected by what we decide." The room became quiet, except for the sound of distant stars singing in frequencies only evolved humans could hear. "What happens if we say no to everything?" Hyunwoo asked. "Then we erase your memories of this place and send you home," Sujin said. "You'll remember rescuing the Kalarians, but nothing about what you've learned here." "And if we agree to help?" "Then you become something new," Jinnah said. "Not fully human, but no longer entirely your original species either. You become the bridge between what the galaxy is and what humanity is becoming." Deho looked at his crew. Boram was fascinated despite her fear. Hyunwoo was terrified but trying to be brave. The choice they made would change everything, not just for them, but for every species in the galaxy. Dr. So-young led them deeper into Haven Station. The corridors seemed to shift and change as they walked, as if the station was rearranging itself for their journey. Daeho tried not to think about how impossible that was. "Your engineer keeps scanning everything," So-young said with a smile. "That's good. Scientists should be curious." Boram looked up from her handheld scanner. "Dr. So-young, these readings don't make sense. This station shows up as both living tissue and advanced technology." "That's because it's both. Haven Station is what we call a biotech construct. It's alive, but it's also a machine." "How is that possible?" So-young stopped walking and touched the wall. The surface rippled under her hand like water. 300 years ago, humans discovered something we call biotechnology fusion. We learned how to make machines that live and creatures that think like computers. Hyunwoo stepped back from the wall. "You mean this whole station is some kind of animal?" "Not exactly an animal. Think of it as a new form of life. It thinks, but not like you or me. It feels, but differently. It exists to help us and protect us." They entered a laboratory filled with equipment that looked like nothing Daeho had ever seen. Devices that pulsed with their own heartbeat. Computers that seemed to breathe. Screens that showed information by growing patterns like flowers. "This is where I study other species," So-young explained. "We've been watching the galaxy for 300 years, learning about all of you." "Watching us?" Daeho felt cold. "How?" "We have sensors throughout galactic space. They're very small and completely undetectable. We know about every war, every peace treaty, every new species that joins the Council." Boram moved to one of the strange computers. "May I?" "Of course. Touch the interface panel." Boram put her hand on what looked like a flat piece of crystal. Immediately the crystal began to glow. Information flowed across its surface, but not in any language she recognized. "It's responding to your touch," So-young said. "Our computers interface directly with living minds. They read your thoughts and intentions." "That's impossible." "Many things we do seem impossible. That's part of the problem." Captain Taewoo entered the laboratory. "Dr. So-young, are you explaining the biotech integration?" "I'm trying to. It's difficult to explain 300 years of evolution in a few minutes." Daeho looked between the two humans. They seemed normal, but something felt different about them. The way they moved was too smooth. The way they spoke was too calm. "What happened to humanity 300 years ago?" he asked. So-young and Taewoo exchanged a look. It was just a glance, but Daeho felt like they had shared an entire conversation in that moment. "We call it the Great Integration," So-young said. "Humanity was facing many problems. War, disease, environmental collapse. Our scientists worked desperately to find solutions." She activated a holographic display that showed the history. Images of old Earth appeared in the air, cities covered in pollution, armies fighting with primitive weapons, humans dying from diseases. "We developed biotechnology to solve our problems, machines that could heal us, computers that could think for themselves. We thought we were just making better tools." The images changed. Now they showed humans working with strange machines, devices that looked alive, technology that grew instead of being built. "But something unexpected happened," Taewoo continued. "The biotechnology began to integrate with us. At first it was just simple things, medical implants that helped us heal faster, computer interfaces that let us think more clearly. Then it went deeper," So-young added. "The technology didn't just help us, it became part of us. And we became part of it." Boram was still studying the computer interface. "Dr. So-young, this machine is reading my thoughts. I can feel it in my mind." "Yes, that's how all our technology works now. We don't use controls or keyboards. We think, and the machines respond." Hyunwoo moved away from the equipment. "You're saying all humans are connected to machines?" "Not connected to machines," Taewoo said. "We are the machines, and the machines are us. There's no separation anymore." To demonstrate, Taewoo held out his hand. His palm began to glow with soft light. The light formed shapes and patterns in the air above his hand. "I'm not using a device," he explained. "This is part of me now. Biotechnology integrated into my body at the cellular level." Deho stared at the display of light. "You're not human anymore." "That's the question we've been asking ourselves for 300 years. So Young said sadly. "Are we still human? Or have we become something else?" She walked to another interface and touched it. The room around them changed. The walls became transparent, showing the stars outside. But the stars were different. They pulsed with patterns of light that seemed to respond to So Young's presence. "We can interface with anything that has biotechnology in it," she explained. "Our ships, our stations, even some natural phenomena that we've learned to influence." "The stars are responding to you," Boram whispered. "Some of them have biotech sensors we placed long ago. The sensors read our life signs and send data back to us." Deho felt overwhelmed. "This is why you requested isolation. You're afraid of what you've become." "Partly," Taewoo admitted. "But also, we're afraid of what we might do to others." "What do you mean?" So Young looked sad. "During first contact 300 years ago, something went wrong. The Galactic Council sent a diplomatic ship to meet us. We were still learning. To control our new abilities, she activated another display. It showed a Galactic Council ship approaching Earth. The ship looked normal and peaceful. The diplomats were excited to meet us. They had studied our radio signals and thought we were a promising young species. The display showed the moment of contact. The Council ship approached Earth, and humans went out to meet them in their biotech vessels." "What happened?" Deho asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. "One of our people got nervous," Taewoo said quietly. "Fear is a strong emotion, and our biotechnology responds to emotions. The fear affected the biotech systems on our ship." The display showed the Council vessel suddenly beginning to change. Its hull rippled and twisted. The ship's crew sent distress signals as their own technology began to malfunction. "Our fear infected their ship through some kind of biotech field," So Young explained. "Their computers started acting like living things. Their life support systems became confused. The ship itself began to act like a frightened animal. The crew survived," Taewoo added quickly. "We were able to fix the damage and send them home safely. But the incident showed us something terrible." "What?" "Our emotions, our thoughts, our very existence as biotech-integrated beings affects the space around us. We can accidentally change things just by being near them." Boram pulled her hand away from the computer interface. "You mean just by being here you could change us?" "It's possible," So Young admitted. "That's why we agreed to isolation. That's why no one has entered human space for 300 years. But we're here now," Deho said. "Yes, you are, and that creates a problem." Taewoo looked at each of them. "You've seen our technology. You've been exposed to biotech fields. You know our secret. So what happens now?" So Young and Taewoo looked at each other again. This time, Deho was sure they were communicating somehow. "Now," So Young said, "we have to decide what to do with you. Because you can never return to the galaxy with this knowledge." The Star Hunter moved through space toward the Calarian merchant ship. Captain Deho watched the main screen as they got closer. The rescue should have been simple, but nothing felt simple anymore. "Captain," Boram called from her engineering station. "I'm getting very strange readings. The Calarian ship is definitely being moved by something, but our sensors show empty space." "How is that possible?" Deho asked. "I don't know, sir. It's like something invisible has grabbed their ship with a tractor beam we can't detect." Hyunwoo looked up from his tactical display. "Captain, we're about to cross into human space." Deho felt his heart beat faster. No ship from the Galactic Council had crossed this border in 300 years. He was about to break the most important law in known space. "Boram, can you scan for human ships?" "I've been trying, Captain, but the readings are wrong. My instruments show empty space, but they also show something that shouldn't exist." "What do you mean?" Boram's blue skin turned pale. "The scanners detect metal and energy patterns, but they also detect something else, something that reads as both machine and living tissue at the same time." Before Daeho could answer, the space in front of them changed. One moment, there was nothing. The next moment, a ship appeared as if it had always been there. The human vessel was beautiful and terrifying. It looked like it had grown instead of being built. The hull curved and flowed like a living thing. Strange patterns of light moved across its surface like veins carrying glowing blood. "Captain," Hyunwoo whispered, "that ship is 3 times our size, but it wasn't there a second ago. How did it appear so suddenly?" "I don't think it appeared, sir. I think it uncloaked, but our sensors show no cloaking technology. It's like the ship decided to let us see it." A voice came through their communication system. It was the same, calm voice they had heard before. "Braxian vessel, you have entered human space. Please reduce speed and prepare to be escorted." Daeho looked at his crew. They had all heard stories about human ships from 300 years ago. Those stories described crude metal boxes with simple rocket engines. The ship in front of them was nothing like those old stories. "This is Captain Daeho of the Galactic Council patrol ship Star Hunter. We came to rescue the Calarian vessel. We are aware of your mission. The Calarian crew is safe. You will accompany us." It wasn't a request. Daeho felt power behind those words. The human ship moved closer, and the Star Hunter's engines stopped working. "Boram, what happened to our engines?" "They're still running, Captain, but we're not moving under our own power anymore. Something is controlling our ship." The human vessel guided them through space. As they traveled, Boram worked frantically at her station, trying to understand what was happening. "Captain, this is impossible. Our ship is being moved by some kind of field, but it's not electromagnetic or gravitational. It's something my instruments can't identify. Keep scanning. I want to know everything about that ship." Boram's eyes went wide as she looked at her readings. "Captain, you need to see this. According to my scans, the human ship is partially existing in normal space and partially existing somewhere else." "What do you mean, somewhere else?" "I don't know, sir. The readings suggest their ship exists in multiple dimensions at the same time. That should be impossible." Hyunwoo checked his weapon systems. "Captain, our weapons won't target their ship. The targeting computer says there's nothing to lock on to. But we can see it right in front of us." "Yes, sir. But our instruments think it's not really there." After 2 hours of travel, they approached a space station that looked like a giant flower made of metal and crystal. Ships moved around it like insects around a bloom. But these ships were like nothing Daeho had ever seen. They flowed and changed shape as they moved. "Welcome to Haven Station," the human voice said. "You will dock at Port 7. As they docked, Daeho saw the Calarian merchant ship in another bay. It looked tiny next to the strange human vessels. "Boram, Hyunwoo, you're with me. We're going to meet our hosts." The docking tube connected with a soft sound. When the door opened, Daeho expected to see a normal corridor. Instead, he found himself looking at a tunnel that seemed to be alive. The walls pulsed gently, and soft light flowed through them like blood through veins. A human was waiting for them. He looked normal except for his eyes. They were the same brown color as old humans, but they seemed to see too much. "I am Captain Taewoo of the Human Defense Corps. Welcome to Haven Station." Daeho studied the human. Taewoo appeared young, but something about him felt very old. "Captain Taewoo, I'm Captain Daeho. We came to rescue the Calarian ship." "The Calarians are safe and unharmed. Their ship is being repaired. They will be returned to the border when ready." "That's good to hear. But we need to report back to our command." Taewoo's expression became sad. "I'm afraid that won't be possible right now." "What do you mean?" "You've seen our ships and our station. You've entered our space. This creates a problem." Hyunwoo moved his hand toward his weapon, but Taewoo shook his head. "Your weapons won't work here. Not because we've disabled them, but because they don't understand what they would be trying to shoot." Boram was scanning everything with her handheld device. "Captain, these readings can't be right. This station is showing up as both mechanical and biological. It's like the whole structure is alive." Taewoo nodded. "Your engineer is very observant. Haven Station is alive in a way. As are our ships. As are we. Though not in the way you might think." What are you talking about? Deho asked. That's a long story, Captain, and one that will take time to explain properly. For now, you should know that you can't return to galactic space with the knowledge you've gained. Are you threatening us? No. I'm explaining a situation. 300 years ago, your people and ours agreed to isolation for very good reasons. Those reasons still exist. Taewu led them through corridors that curved and flowed like rivers. The walls were warm to the touch and seemed to respond to their presence. Lights grew brighter as they approached and dimmed after they passed. Where are you taking us? Deho asked. To meet someone who can explain things better than I can. Dr. So-Young has been waiting to meet visitors from the galaxy for a very long time. As they walked, Bo-Ram kept scanning. Captain, she whispered, I don't think this station was built. I think it grew. Taewu heard her. Very good, Engineer Bo-Ram. You're beginning to understand. They entered a large room with windows that looked out at the stars. A human woman was waiting for them. She smiled, but her smile was strange. It was warm and welcoming, but also sad. Welcome, Dr. So-Young said. I'm sorry you had to come here. But now that you have, we need to talk about what happens next. Deho looked around the room. Everything seemed normal, but he could feel something wrong. The air itself felt different. Thicker somehow. Dr. So-Young, we just want to return to our ship and report to our command. I understand, Captain, but first you need to understand why that's not possible. You see, humans aren't what your people think we are. We haven't been what anyone thinks we are for a very long time. She walked to the window and looked out at the stars. 300 years ago, something happened to humanity. Something wonderful and terrible. We evolved, Captain Deho, but we evolved into something that the galaxy isn't ready to know about. The alarm bells rang through the bridge of the Vraxian patrol ship Star Hunter. Captain Deho rushed to his command chair as the red lights flashed around him. His crew moved quickly to their stations, checking screens and pressing buttons. What do we have? Deho asked his officer Hyun-woo. Distress signal, Captain, coming from grid 779. Hyun-woo's forearms moved across his control panel. It's a Kalarian merchant ship. They're asking for help. Deho looked at the main screen. A map of space showed their position near the edge of known territory. The blinking red dot showed the distressed ship, but something made his stomach feel cold. The ship was very close to the forbidden zone. How close are they to human space? He asked. Bo-Ram, his engineer, checked her instruments. Her blue skin turned a darker shade, which meant she was worried. Less than 1 light hour, Captain. They're drifting toward the border. The bridge became quiet. Everyone knew the rules. For 300 years, no ship from any species had entered human space. The Galactic Council made this law after first contact with humans went wrong. Very wrong. Nobody talked about what happened, but the law was clear. Stay away from human territory. Send a message to Galactic Command, Deho said. Tell them about the situation. Within an hour, Admiral Ye-Jin appeared on the main screen. Her green scales caught the light as she spoke from her office on Nexus Prime Station. Ye-Jin was old and had seen many wars. She was not someone who scared easily. Captain Deho, she said in her deep voice. I understand you found a ship in trouble. Yes, Admiral. Kalarian merchant vessel with 20 crew members. They're asking for rescue. And they're near human space. Yes, ma'am. Very close. Ye-Jin was quiet for a moment. Her large eyes looked tired. You know the law, Captain. I do, Admiral. But these are innocent people. They didn't choose to drift. Toward human territory, their engines failed. The law exists for good reasons, Captain. Reasons you don't understand. Deho felt angry. He had been a patrol captain for 15 years. He had saved hundreds of lives and stopped many criminals. But this rule never made sense to him. Admiral, with respect, I think I should understand. Why can't we help people in trouble? Are humans so dangerous that we let innocent beings die? Ye-Jin's expression became hard. Captain, you will not question council law. The humans requested isolation after first contact. We agreed. End of discussion. But what happened during first contact? The records are sealed. Nobody will tell us anything. Because knowing would not help you sleep at night. Yejin leaned forward. Captain, I was there. I was a young officer on the first diplomatic ship that met humans. What I saw... She stopped talking and shook her head. The isolation protects everyone, them and us. Are they too primitive? Too violent? Yejin laughed, but it was not a happy sound. Primitive? Captain, you have no idea what you're talking about. The humans are not primitive. Then what are they? Something we should leave alone. Yejin's voice became firm. You will not approach the Calarian ship. You will not enter human space. You will return to your patrol route. That is an order. The screen went dark. Daeho stared at the empty space where the Admiral's image had been. Around him, his crew waited for orders. Captain? Yunwoo asked. What do we do? Daeho looked at the tactical display. The Calarian ship was still sending distress signals. 20 people were going to die because of an old law that nobody would explain. Boram, how long before they drift into human space? 6 hours, Captain. Maybe 7. And how long to reach them? 4 hours if we use maximum speed. Daeho thought about his career. He had always followed orders. He was a good officer, but sometimes being good meant breaking bad rules. Sir, Boram said. There's something else. I'm picking up strange readings from human space. What kind of readings? I don't know. The sensors show something, but the data doesn't make sense. It's like there's something watching us. Yunwoo checked his own instruments. She's right, Captain. There are energy patterns coming from human territory, but they don't match any known technology. Daeho felt a chill. What if Admiral Yejin was right? What if humans were dangerous? But then he thought about the 20 Calarians who would die if nobody helped them. Captain, Boram said quietly, I'm getting another signal. From the Calarian ship? No, sir, from inside human space. Everyone on the bridge stopped moving. Signals from human space were impossible. Humans had been silent for 300 years. Put it on speakers, Daeho said. Static filled the bridge. Then a voice spoke in perfect galactic standard. It was calm and clear. Attention, Vraxian vessel. We are aware of your situation. Do not enter our territory. We will handle the rescue. The signal ended. The bridge was completely quiet. Captain, Yunwoo whispered. How did they know we were here? Daeho stared at the star map. Human space looked empty and dark. But something was definitely there. Something that could watch them from light years away and speak their language perfectly. Sir, Boram said. The Calarian ship has stopped drifting. Something is pulling it away from the border. On the screen, they watched the red dot that represented the merchant ship. It was moving away from human space, but no ship appeared on their sensors. Whatever was moving the Calarian vessel was invisible to their instruments. This is impossible, Hyunwoo said. Nothing can move a ship that size without showing up on our scans. Daeho made a decision that would change everything. Set course for the Calarian ship, maximum speed. Captain, Boram said. Admiral Yejin ordered us not to approach. Admiral Yejin doesn't have 20 people counting on her for rescue. Besides, we're not entering human space. We're investigating an unknown force that can move ships without being detected. As the Star Hunter accelerated toward the merchant vessel, Daeho wondered what they would find. For 300 years, the galaxy had avoided human space. Now he was about to learn why. He had a feeling that nothing would ever be the same again.